All right, we are now recording.
Deb, are you here?
We can't hear you, Deb.
No, not sure where Deb went.
I see her, but we just can't hear her.
Oh, you can see her.
Do you want to type in the chat to us, Deb, so at least we can get your message that way? Maybe she's going to go up now. Did you, in the right or the left-hand corner, do you see the microphone and it has mute beside it with an arrow up? If you click on that, you should be able to select a microphone because it may not be. I'm going to share my screen and let's see if it'll let me show you this way. No, it's not going to let me show you.
I could just say something since Deb can't get on.
Okay.
We just wanted to thank you for hosting today. You know, this collaboration was set up to try to, you know, highlight what SIU is doing, and also you're part of the Southern Illinois region for Illinois Agri-Women. So we'd like to just kind of get the word out about our group, and you know, you can check us out on our Facebook page. We have a website, and we'd love to have more women join our group.
All right. Well, thank you. Do you have anything else, Jill? Are you ready for us to sort of take it and go with it? Well, thank you all for joining us today. We are very disappointed that we could not do this face-to-face on campus as we have originally planned when Jill and Peyton planned this earlier in the spring. But we're at least very excited to try to bring you something from SIU until we can meet you face-to-face on campus and show you the beauty of everything we have to offer here. I have a few updates for you, but I want to do some quick introductions and shout outs here. I see Greg Webb has joined us. Thank you, Greg. Greg is one of our Rockstar alumni, Vice President from ADM. We're excited that he wanted to join and hear everything going on. I do want to take a few minutes and turn it over and let Dr. Scott Ishman say a few words. Dr. Ishman, this is his 1 week mark officially on the job as our interim dean of the College of Agri-Women and Physical Sciences. He stepped in last year when we were between a dean and helped us through a really rough time with harvest. I can assure you the yields that you just saw on that drone footage were not what Dr. Ishman walked into last year. So I am very excited to have him on board and to serve as my boss, and I truly enjoy working with him. So Dr. Ishman, give us a shout out and a welcome if you would.
Sure, we'll do that. Yeah, my name's Scott Ishman, and I'm the interim dean of the College of Agricultural, Life, and Physical Sciences, which was started on July 1st. So it's a new unit. But I was really excited to become the new interim dean for that new college because of the short-term experience I had last year working with the College of Agricultural Sciences. You know, I was familiar with the staff, was familiar with the faculty. So, you know, I was really excited to be able to, you know, be the leadership for the college and be able to work with them more closely now as one big college. And there are going to be some great opportunities that come out of the combination of what was the College of Science and the College of Agricultural Sciences. And we're all really looking forward to that as well. So I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I want to welcome you all to this virtual meeting at SIUC. It's really disappointing that you weren't able to come come down and actually be on campus with us. But hopefully in the not too distant future, there will be opportunities for that to happen because we'd really love to have you here, especially those who haven't been to our campus and seen you know, how great it is. Be able to get out on the farms and see what the facilities that we have there are like. So again, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here, and I look forward to the meeting today. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ishman. We're looking for great things ahead, that's for sure. We're finally on the right pathway here. So Jill asked if I would give you a few updates on the sort of the college and where we are and what's been going on here. As Dr. Ishman just explained, we have been undergoing reorganization. So we are now the College of Agricultural Life and Physical Sciences, which we refer to as CALPS, which has made us more like a land-grant institution, and we look forward to that helping us in our recruitment efforts and providing our students many more opportunities for their career pathways. It includes 4 schools, and one of those schools is the the School of Agricultural Sciences. I've got to erase 25 years here of saying that. So the School of Agricultural Sciences, our interim school director is Dr. Ira Altman, who served formerly as the department head of agribusiness economics. So all 4 of our former departments now answer to the school level, which then in turn answers to Dr. Ishman at the college level. The university farms currently is still at the college level, so they report directly to Dr. Scott Ishman. We hired a new farm director in April, Chris Vick, who I credit greatly to that increase in production and revenue for us with our crops this year. So he is doing a very good job. Another exciting thing, we hired a beef swine manager who is female, and Catherine Prius joined us in July, and she is doing an outstanding job as well, managing our beef herd and our swine center. So 2 of our center managers at the University Farms are now female, which is pretty exciting. The equine center and the beef and swine units. So the animal units are now completely ran and supervised by female. So our new school has 6 majors. We have ABE, the agribusiness economics, the animal science major, forestry, our crops areas of crop, soil, environmental management, horticulture, ag systems, and education. Our current enrollment for the college, it includes our previous majors that are no longer part of our formal college, but are still counted with us, of hospitality and human nutrition. We're at 563 students this fall. We are down slightly, around 7% from last fall, but given COVID and the challenges we had, we were all pretty pleased with our enrollment for this semester. Our graduate enrollment, however, in the school, former college, is up 4.26% from 94 students to 98 students. That includes 29 students enrolled in our PhD program. The university actually looked better than we did. They were only down below 3%. However, new student numbers, we saw a significant increase on campus and in the college. Our new students increased 36% with 21 additional new incoming students compared to fall of 19. We're also focusing more on our relationship with community college and trying to improve those, which results in an increase of our transfer students this year, up 4.3% to 97 new transfer students into agricultural programs. Our popular programs still remain forestry and animal science, but our other programs are just as strong in agribusiness, horticulture, crops, and all of our majors. So now to the female populations before I hand it off to our speakers. I did some research, and in fall '09, so I went back, I was able to go back to 2009, was the latest that we have available to us. The university was 45% female, 54% male. The college was 49% female and 50% male. So we were a little different than the university even in 2009. We seem to lose a little bit of that in fall 13, where 46% of the university was female, 53% male. And we actually dropped a little bit to 48% female, 51% male. Fall 17, though, is where I found where ag females outnumbered males by 51 to 48%. We have now increased in fall 20. The university's at 49-50 male to female. The college is 52% female, 47% male. Now, some of our majors, such as forestry, we still need to work on our female population. They are 83 males, 42 females, for a total of 127 students. However, I was even shocked to find when I looked this up, our animal science students, we have 131 in the program. 107 of those are female, an 81.6% female rate in that program. There are only 23 males in the program. Ag education was another major I found where we are 16-9 female to male, which showed a higher female ratio. So ag has changed over the years. I've heard the stories of, I don't know how many of you have been to the ag building, maybe you're alums, but if you remember, even the restrooms were set up here because there was such a strong male population. And about 15 to 20 years ago, they had to reverse that. I still have to be careful I don't walk in the wrong door some days, but after just a habit. So that just shows, though, the changes we've seen even in the building and the facilities to accommodate more female population in our ag programs. So with that, we have 3 amazing speakers for you today. We're going to start with our present student, Miriam Hoffman, and I'm going to let each one tell a little bit about themselves. And then we're going to pass it on to Sarah Dintelmann, who graduated in May and is now on her career pathway. And then Dr. Erin Perry, who is coming to us from the Equine Center to talk about her role in women in agriculture as a faculty member. So Miriam, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you so much, Susan. As Susan said, my name is Miriam Hoffman. I'm a current junior here at SIUC, and I'm actually one of those transfer students that she was talking about. I came from Illinois Valley Community College, and one of the reasons for why I picked SIU was because they have such a strong support system for transfer students, and that meant a lot to me. So innovation has been on my mind a lot recently, and it's one of those things that now I'm realizing that innovation has always been important to me, but I've only recently realized how and why and what it looks like moving forward to use innovation and to value innovation in my life and in my career. Growing up, I remember I attended a lot of field days with my older brother, Paul. We had diversified crop and livestock operation, raised some dairy cattle, sold genetics across the country, raised some organic row crops, a lot of diversity there on the operation. And so I've had a really unique perspective of agriculture since I was born. But I remember one of the first field days that I went to with Paul, I remember showing up and feeling a little bit out of place. I didn't know all these people. But as the day went on, I just saw the spark and the fire in these farmers' hearts for sharing their knowledge with each other and sharing all the research that they were doing on their farms and the hands-on, like they weren't just thinking about ideas, but they were actually putting these ideas into practice. And then when they found something that worked, they wanted to share that with other farmers. And if they made a mistake, they wanted to share that too. And so I got the bug for going to field days and for working with farmers. So I'd skip class a lot of times in high school to go to field days. And sometimes I'd have to write a paper about it afterwards, but I didn't mind because I just loved being surrounded by so many passionate people who were working to move agriculture forward and working to move it forward in the way that was best for them. I think sometimes when we think about innovation, we can get almost narrow-minded about it and think that innovation is only about really scientific or technology, but innovation is really just bringing ideas together. And that's what all those field days that I attended with Paul really taught me. And then also just the whole environment of growing up. I was homeschooled for a while, then went into public school, and my late father was really passionate about cattle genetics and about maintaining genetic diversity and innovating in that respect. And my mother raised me to pursue my passions, regardless of whether or not I felt like I fit in that role. So then as I got involved in high school, got involved in FFA, and FFA really, it gave me a place to become who I was meant to be. It gave me a space to explore new ideas, to get out of my comfort zone, try public speaking. I realized once I got into FFA that I actually did like talking to people. I just hadn't realized it yet. And then I got to serve on the state officer team. A couple of my teammates are actually on this call, Taylor and Shaylee, shout out to them. We were the first all-female team in Illinois FFA, but that wasn't how we wanted, that wasn't the only thing that we wanted people to know about us. We had goals, we had aspirations. We wanted to leave a mark on Illinois FFA, and the fact that we were women wasn't even really relevant to that. We cared about serving the membership. That's why we ran, and that's why we got elected. So those group of leaders really built me up and encouraged me to become even more who I am and to pursue my passions. And then as I ran for national office last fall, they were always there to support me, and many other good friends and mentors in the FFA. And now I'm running again for national office this fall because I still believe so much in the FFA, and I believe that I have more to give. A lot of that came from my internship this summer. I worked for an ag tech startup called Continuum Ag based out of Washington, Iowa. Soil health consulting, data analytics company. Just started about 5 years ago. My boss started it when he was in college. And the time that I spent there at Continuum was so cool for me because everyone working for the company and all the people that my boss and his people worked with, they had this mindset that we can do anything that we want to do in agriculture. And we can do so much more when we're doing it together. And so the spirit of collaboration and innovation and trying new things and doing it in so many different directions. A lot of the big focus was cover crops for us when we're looking at soil health. Cover crops is one of the biggest things that has been shown to be beneficial, but it doesn't look the same for every farm. And that's one of the things I'm really passionate about is there's not one right answer. Innovation isn't one road. Innovation is a bunch of different roads, sometimes in different directions. But the goal is always the same. And that goal is ultimately for the sake of people. Innovation isn't just about ideas and science and technology, but it's about bringing people together for a common goal and to move ourselves forward. And so that was a really, really cool experience for me this summer. I'm actually still doing some part-time work for Continuum Ag because I just loved it so much. I got so invested in it. So I'm really fortunate to still be working with that company. And I'm really excited that being at SIU has given me the opportunity to continue doing that. I love working in the office there with Susan, spend a lot of time there and just throwing around ideas and talking about, so excited about just talking about the cover crops, just planted with the helicopter a couple of days ago. And that's, yeah, I worked with it all summer. And so I'm super excited to see that happening here at SIU. I think there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. SIU is moving forward in that. We want to be ahead of the curve. And I'm so excited that I get to be a part of that here. When I look forward to what I want to achieve, I'm not one of those people that has the specific, like narrowed in, I want to do this one specific job. But I know the problem that I want to help solve. And that ultimately comes down to, I want to help empower farmers and consumers to all make decisions that are beneficial for themselves, beneficial for their families, and beneficial for the planet. So we talk about environmental sustainability. We also need economic resiliency. So it's a pretty big, broad problem, but it gets me really excited. And I think when we look at all the different things that are happening in agriculture, all the different spaces that there are, all these new ag tech startups like the one I worked for, all working to move forward and to move us into a new era of agriculture, really. And when it comes to what kind of my broader philosophy, my purpose in life, I want to help create a world where every individual feels empowered to pursue whatever path they want, whether or not there's people that look like them in that area. A lot of times over the summer in my job, I'd be in a room full of men, but I didn't even think about it because we were just all passionate about agriculture. So the fact that I was the only woman wasn't even relevant. And so I want to continue to create a world where we're not even empowered to move forward and to pursue what it is that we're passionate about. And I'm so excited about what SIU is doing to move that path forward. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of that. So thank you all for being here today. I'm humbled to have been able to speak. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam. And we'll have question and answers at the end as long as we have time. Before Sarah speaks, I did want to give one more shout out because I truly appreciate Katie Main joining us from the legislative assistant with Congressman Mike Boss' office. Katie, thank you for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go to our next speaker, Sarah.
Just thank you for having me. Like she said, I work for Congressman Mike Boss. I've been in my position for 2 years, and they stuck me directly into ag because I live on my husband's family farm, and I'm one of the only people in the district office that has a passing knowledge of agriculture. But I'm so excited to see women coming together and supporting each other and sharing their experiences. Because when I go out in the fields, a lot of times I'm surrounded by men, and it's nice to get that unique perspective that women have, and from just not the people in the field, but in other areas of agribusiness. So thank you so much for having me and giving me a chance to listen to y'all.
Thank you, Katie. Katie was very instrumental in helping us arrange a visit. Congressman Boss actually came out and visited the farm just a few weeks ago. And we greatly appreciate his support for SIU agriculture. So, and Katie's a vital part of that. So she's helping me work on a project. We hope to release information soon for a face-to-face event fall of 2021. So it's pretty exciting. I'm very excited about it. With that, we're gonna go next to, so we have our present student, and now we have one of our most recent past students, Sarah Dintelmann, who is an amazing young woman, rock star, in the research world. She made pathways that I don't think in all my years here I saw undergraduates be able to do in the area of research. So Sarah, tell us about yourself and talk to us about your pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Susan. I'm so happy to be here and excited to talk to everyone today. So like Susan said, my name is Sarah Dintelmann. I'm originally from Belleville, Illinois. And there in Belleville, my family owns and operates a nursery and garden center. And so a lot of my youth was spent in the nursery with trees, with landscaping materials and plants. And so that's really where I did fall in love with plants. And unfortunately in Belleville, when I was in high school, there was not an FFA program, so I was not quite so fortunate to have those kinds of experiences, but I decided to attend SIU and get fully immersed in the world of agriculture and crop science. So when I started as a freshman at SIU, I was actually very fortunate enough to get involved with a research lab, the weed science group, so Dr. Carla Gage, if you're familiar. So I started working for Dr. Gage as a freshman, and very quickly took on a lot of responsibility there in the lab. I was able to receive a grant along with Dr. Gage's help called an undergraduate assistantship, basically money from the university encouraging undergraduate students to take on additional projects with professors in the area of research. Now, that being said, I was a freshman, and most of the other folks that were getting these grants were upperclassmen. So Dr. Gage took the lead a lot on that project, but with that project, we were looking at some different native plant mixes and field margins and controlling Palmer amaranth and water hemp, kind of evaluating what those species look like and if those species could be taken to a larger scale to help combat the spread of herbicide-resistant weeds into farmers' fields. So that project was about a year long. I actually did create, I guess it's called an iBook. So if you search my name on the iTunes store, you'll actually find the book that I created, basically a guide to identifying some different native plants, which is a really cool project for me, especially because I hadn't had a lot of experience in that realm. And then very quickly after I finished up that project, I was given the opportunity to have an internship that very first summer with the weed science group at the Belleville Research Center. So if you're not familiar, the Belleville Research Center is there just by Scott Air Force Base, kind of between Belleville and Mascoutah. And so the farm manager there, Ron Krause, was also very instrumental in my research journey. So basically I was a research intern for a summer. So I just sprayed and rated trials, and towards the end of the summer we were just doing weed counts, sitting in the field on milk crates pulling weeds and identifying them. So great experience there. But one of the other projects that I worked on while I was at the Belleville Research Center was part of a 50-year tillage by fertility study. So a long time ago, Dr. George Kapusta started this trial looking at how tillage and fertility impacted corn yield. So for the first 20 years of the study, it was continuous corn. And then following that, it switched to a corn-soy rotation. And so Dr. Gage and Ron Krause were wanting to look at how those long-term tillage and fertility impacted weed communities. So we collected some above ground data, seeing what we did emerge in that field and at what concentration or density the plants were there. And then we also did a very extensive soil study as well. So we pulled, on the entire field, we pulled about 7,000 soil cores and took that soil back down to the university where we did a greenhouse study. So in the greenhouse, we took all those soil cores and we grew them out. We put them in trays and we sub-irrigated them so that the weeds in that soil would germinate. And so I spent 2 years doing that. So for 2 summers, I went to BRC and collected 7,000 soil cores. And then the following fall, evaluated them in the greenhouse. And so that was a really great experience. And from that also stemmed a lot of my presentation opportunities. So through Dr. Gage and the Weed Science Group, as well as the Agronomy Society, so Dr. Jason and Dr. Sarah Bond were also, again, very instrumental in my journey in research. And so I was very fortunate enough to travel to the Tri-Societies, so Crop Science Society of America, Soil Science Society of America, and the American Society of Agronomy. They hold an annual meeting, and with that meeting is a student portion, so it's called SIUC. And so at those meetings, they have student presentation competitions, basically research symposium. So I was able to present 2 years of the research that I was working on at those conferences. The first one that I went to was in Tampa, Florida, and then the second one was in Baltimore, Maryland, which was really cool, more so from the DC aspect, but had a good time in Baltimore. And at those conferences, I was competing primarily against, again, upperclassmen from land-grant institutions. So I presented as a sophomore and junior, and again, competing against land-grant institutions. And SIU's opportunities between the internships I've had and the research opportunities really did prepare me as an underclassman to compete against seniors from land-grant institutions. And I was fortunate enough my sophomore year to win 3rd place in the symposium I was presenting in. So it was a really great opportunity. I really enjoyed celebrating with everyone who was there with us. Really great opportunities, again, through the Tri-Societies, SIUC, Dr. Jason and Sarah Bond, Dr. Carla Gage, and Ron Krause. So they deserve more credit than I do for sure, because they definitely pushed me to get me where I am today. And so that's another thing I'll just say, you know, the folks at the university are invested in our students. If a student shows the initiative to go do these things and compete and learn, the professors are going to notice that in you and really try to set you up to be successful as much as possible. So like I said, I can't thank those folks enough for helping me to be where I'm at today. Like I said, I worked for Dr. Gage for all 4 years I was there at Southern, but I also participated in some other things at the university. So my second summer internship, I was a sales intern for Syngenta. I was working with their Golden Harvest seed brand. I did a lot of cold calling on growers, which was definitely different compared to the research experience that I've had. But yeah, it was a really great experience. And then the following summer, I did an internship with BASF. I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. I did work on a research farm most of the summer, but one of the really cool things is all the products and trials I was working on were commercial. And they also let me present at some field days. So I was really excited to share what I learned in North Carolina, talking about cotton, peanuts, corn, and soybeans was a really cool experience for me. And then also during my time at the university, I participated in the Ag-Ambassador program. So if you guys aren't familiar, the Ag-Ambassador program is a select group of students. We have to apply and interview for the program. And basically then we get to go recruit students from all over Southern Illinois and Central Illinois, Northern Illinois. We go all over the place, but it was a really great opportunity. And again, one of those moments was like, oh my gosh, like this is really what I enjoy doing. Like you might not think going to a trade show and standing in front of a table and talking to prospective students about ag would be that fun, but I found it fascinating and I loved it. And so that coupled with my sales experience with both Syngenta and BASF, I actually decided to pursue sales as a career. And so upon graduation, like Susan said, I graduated in May. I accepted a job as a field sales representative trainee with Bayer Crop Science. So I actually relocated to Kansas City, Missouri, so I'm quite far away from Southern Illinois at this point in time. But yeah, I've been placed with the Lewis brand, so it's a regional brand. If you're familiar with Stone in Illinois, it's comparable to what is here in Missouri. I've been here since June, and I'm getting paid to learn how to be a sales rep. It's awesome. I absolutely love getting out and talking to dealers and growers and helping them make their businesses as successful as possible. So, like I said, I could not be where I am today without SIU. The folks that are there really do invest in their students, and like I said, I could not be where I'm at today without the university. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's on the call for being here. And Susan, I know, we've worked a lot together. I never worked in the office for you, but you've also played a big role in where I'm at. So thank you.
Well, thank you. These young ladies are the reason why when you have a bad day around here, and especially with COVID, it was hard. These people are the reason we all keep going every day. So thank you all. You make me a very proud mom. They all do. So with that, and like I said, we'll do question and answers at the end because each one of the speakers have a very interesting pathway to share with you. Dr. Erin Perry is our next speaker. Dr. Perry is an associate professor in the animal science program, and she is our faculty coordinator for the Equine Science Center. And she has history before she came to us working out in industry with Purina. And she's also added, and I'm gonna let her talk about it, I don't wanna steal your thunder here, but she's also added the rescue dog component, which is giving animal science sort of a different look than what we traditionally have seen in that program to offer our students. So with that, Dr. Perry, take the floor and share your story with us, please.
Hey, thanks everybody. Is my volume okay? We have road noise, so I don't want to be shouting, but I want to make sure you can hear me. Is my volume okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, okay. So first of all, thank you, all of you, for being here today. Thank you for your passion for agriculture. Thank you for your leadership, because the fact that you're here and you're interested in learning more, you're interested in being engaged, tells me that you are a leader in your own field, in your own path, in your own discipline. You are all leaders just by virtue of the fact that you are present on this call. So thank you very much for that. As Susan mentioned, my name is Dr. Erin Perry, and I am not your typical agriculture professor by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't have the benefit of an FFA chapter growing up. I wasn't raised on a farm, so I didn't have that kind of early exposure and immersion in that culture. And let's face it, agriculture, it is a culture. It's in the very name. It's the essence of providing food to the community. It's the essence of providing clothing to the community. So it's everything about providing our most basic needs. It's everything related to how we provide our most basic needs. And so I think it's important when we first started discussing this call and discussing this meeting, one of the questions that was raised, someone said something about, what does it mean to be a woman in agriculture? And I immediately thought to myself, it means so much more than it used to. I think it used to be kind of very limited in scope to that very narrow historical interpretation of being a farmer, livestock, row crop, that sort of thing. But today it's so much more. It's cutting edge science. It's cutting edge research. You've got to hear a little bit about that today. It's veterinary medicine. It's developing partnerships. It's participating in those initiatives, and it's being willing to take chances. It's being willing to try something new. And I think maybe that's why women in agriculture occupy such a special position, because we're always willing to take chances. We're always willing to try something new, because intrinsically as females, that's something that we're just asked to do quite a lot. And I love hearing about the enrollment numbers of our students, especially our female students. It's exciting and it's encouraging. And what that tells me is that we're doing a good job letting female students know there are opportunities here. And I have a couple people with me, and we're outdoors and we are appropriately social distanced. And so that's why we can do this with no mask on. But I've got a couple folks here with me that I think I would like to introduce to you, because they're also women in ag. Samantha Wiest, as Susan mentioned earlier, the animal centers at SIU Farms are now being exclusively supervised and managed by females, and Sam is a huge part of that. Sam is an SIU alum. She did her bachelor's here in animal science. She also completed a master's in equine science here, focusing on nutrition and reproduction. And so Sam has been able to not only work to really bring the Equine Center into an incredibly well-organized and well-run operation, but she does such a fantastic job that the farms director said, would you be willing to serve as the mentor for all of the animal center managers? Because Sam just has such a great foundation for oversight and for management, and she got that here at SIU, and those are skills that she's been able to develop and that she's been able to really master, and she is an incredible asset to our program, to our college, and to our university. So I really want to just kind of take a moment to introduce Sam. You might have seen her run off camera just a few minutes ago. Our veterinarian showed up. We had a horse that required a medical treatment today. And so Sam is constantly juggling those sorts of things. But again, as women in ag, that's kind of something that we are really well versed in, is juggling and flexing. The other person that I want to introduce, standing behind her, is an undergraduate student. This is Sierra Crowell. Sierra is going to have finished her bachelor's degree in 3 years, right? So Sierra was on an accelerated program. She's going to complete her bachelor's degree in only 3 years. And I think while that is an incredible and noteworthy accomplishment on its own merits, I think it's also important to point out that Sierra has also executed 2 and is getting ready to start a 3rd research project that she has developed, that she is executing. She's performing data collection analysis on. She's performing all of that data analysis. She presented, she did a fantastic job, presented the results of one of her equine studies representing our university at the American Association of Animal Scientists this summer. Did an exceptional job, and she's planning on staying for a master's degree also in equine nutrition. And Sierra's program focuses on equine feeding behavior. She's working with palatants to discover what flavors are more preferred by certain horses. And although, you know, some people might say, well, what difference does it make? Don't all horses like grass, or don't they all like apple? The reason why that's so particularly important is because a lot of times we have specific medications that have to be administered at specific times. And a lot of times refusal is a big problem. So if Sierra can get a better handle on what flavors are preferred, especially at different stages of growth, then we can better design medications, dewormers, those oral products, and we can provide them with better tolerance, which means we can do a better job taking care of the health and well-being of our animals. So super, super proud of Sierra and Sam and their contribution to the program. And so Susan had asked me to kind of discuss my my path or my journey to SIU. As she mentioned, I was in industry first. So like a lot of students, I initially considered vet school. And then I got exposed to research, and the bug just bit me. And I was fascinated by questions that we don't have answers to. And I was fascinated by the process for finding those answers. And so I completed my bachelor's at Southeast Missouri State University, and I went to University of Mizzou and studied under a world-class ruminant nutritionist for my master's program, Dr. Monty Curley, brilliant beef nutritionist. And so I was able to learn about production livestock, and I was able to learn about different techniques associated with research methodology. But I wasn't really satisfied. I wanted a little bit more, and I wanted to be able to work directly with end users or consumers. And so I had an opportunity to join the team at Purina Animal Nutrition. And so I was very, very fortunate to work with Purina for almost a decade. I got to be, initially I got to work out in the field. I was working with the sales group, which was fantastic, because if you ever want to know what someone really thinks, you need to go talk to the end users and talk to the sales group, because they can absolutely and they will shoot you straight. So it was a very eye-opening experience for me, because it really helped me understand how much we still don't know, and how are we designing products, and how are we addressing the problems of the consumer. And so that was a really good kind of learning experience at Purina. I had an opportunity to join the technical team, and that happened after I completed my PhD, which Purina paid for. So any of you who are considering taking, a period of time and going into industry, make sure you check out opportunities for educational reimbursement, because a lot of those companies do offer those sorts of programs. And so I really encourage you to check those out. So after I was with Purina, I had an opportunity to come join the team here at SIU and kind of lead the equine program, which was exciting and kind of terrifying all at once. I was stepping into some very big shoes. Sherry King had led this program for many, many years and had done an exceptional job. And so I was hired to take over as the equine program director. But within a couple years, we were able to see that our students' needs were changing, and our students' interests were changing. The job market was changing. And so I've been blessed to get to bring my personal passion. See, here. I've been blessed to get to bring my personal passion. This is my canine partner, Zorro. I've been blessed to get to bring my personal passion into my professional realm. And we are starting to develop more and more of a companion animal program here at SIU. And a lot of the research that I do, yes, buddy, a lot of the research that I do, about 50% of my research is focused on working dogs. And I know some of you are probably thinking, okay, military dogs, police dogs, search and rescue dogs, I get it. But again, it's so much more. Scientists are training dogs just like this to detect COVID. You may have seen that on the news. I've collaborated with some of those scientists. Dr. Bond, he was mentioned earlier as one of our incredible soybean scientists. Dr. Bond and I have discussed and are still in discussions about training dogs to detect mycotoxins in the field. And any of you who have ever had to work with mycotoxin contamination, you may have a sneaking suspicion of what an impact that would be, because if we can detect the mycotoxin in the field and avoid harvesting that area altogether, then we don't contaminate the rest of the load of the harvest, and obviously there are significant economic impacts for that as well. Obviously the pet food industry is okay, but the pet food industry is a huge market, and so we are working a lot. We have an online certificate in companion animal nutrition. I took a couple of those courses. So opportunities for students are different today than they were 10 years ago. And I think that that's a credit to SIU and their flexibility and their willingness to meet the students where they have a need. And the students right now have a need for equine programs. They have a need for companion programs. They have a need for cutting edge science. Dr. Ishman just sent out an email, I think it was yesterday or the day before, asking what kind of interest we might have in purchasing and what kind of availability there was for purchasing some next generation sequencing equipment. This is cutting edge DNA analysis equipment that will allow us to do really exciting molecular research. So I'm incredibly, I'm quite frankly, I'm humbled to be part of this group. I am consistently blessed with incredible people to work with, incredible students to work with. We got our stallion out because we were hoping he'd be down here so you guys could take a look at the stallion on property, but he is down at the other end of the pasture talking to the girls. So he's doing what boy horses do, which is entirely appropriate. But I get asked a lot, why SIU? I get asked a lot, you know, what kind of job opportunities, you know, what can a student do with a degree in agriculture? What can a student do with a degree in animal science? And the reason why people choose SIU is because of experience, because Sierra and Sam and all of the other students who've had the opportunity to come through this program, they leave with real world skills. They don't just sit and listen to PowerPoint lectures. They don't just watch videos. They don't just sit in a classroom. They come here, I guarantee you, Sierra's got dirt on her hands right now because they come here on the farms. This is our living, learning classroom. This is where we, for lack of a better phrase, we practice what we preach. And so we are incredibly invested in teaching you what it's supposed to look like in the classroom, but then you get the opportunity to bring it to the farm and practice it in real life. And you get to see what it looks like when it goes wrong. And sometimes it does. Sometimes things don't work like they're supposed to. And then the students get the benefit of seeing how you adjust to those circumstances, because they happen in real life every single day. So when people ask me why SIU, that's what I say. You can go anywhere for an education. You come to SIU for experience, because that's what we give our students. And if you want to know what kind of job opportunities there are in agriculture today, literally the sky's the limit. You can do cutting edge science in a plant genomic lab. You can work with horses. You can train dogs to detect specific invasive species. You can obviously do veterinary medicine. You can do animal nutrition. You can do compliance work. You can be the person who's out here who's double checking to make sure that the health and the welfare of all of our animals is being appropriately met. Marketing, journalists. When I worked at Purina, we were obviously constantly hiring, you know, people to support our marketing efforts, but they preferentially selected people who had either equine or cattle or canine backgrounds, because they needed someone who understood the language. And women in agriculture, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. We live this life. This is literally what we get up and do every day. And you guys may have seen the story on Facebook. I know I was bragging about them last year when the country shut down because of COVID. Obviously, you know, no one had ever faced anything like that before. It's a global pandemic and a huge public health concern. And every single one of our student workers here at the Equine Center had the opportunity to leave and go home, every single one of them. And they were going to be paid. The university said, we will pay you. Don't worry about your paycheck. If you feel unsafe, if you feel like you need to go home, go home. And not a single one of them took us up on that offer. Every single one of them stayed. Every single one of them were here and were committed to the health and the well-being of the animals that were in their charge. And I don't mind telling you, every single one of them were female. Not that the male students would have made a different decision, but I think it's important to note students and especially younger students of this generation, they get slammed a lot. They get made fun of on social media for being snowflakes, and you know, they get made fun of and they get run down. And I got to tell you, I don't see that. I don't see that in my students. I don't see that in the students working here on university farms. They're here no matter what. They are here taking care of the animals, taking care of the facilities, making sure that their duties are discharged properly. And that's because, as I said at the very beginning of my discussion, that's because this really is a culture. It's a way of life. And for the students who are here, it's just how they're made up. And so I'm honored and I am blessed to get to work with such incredible students and staff. Honored to be able to work at a university that is so encouraging and that allows us to be able to try new things to meet the needs of our students. And very, very glad to be part of this call. And And I'll certainly try to answer any questions. Sam and Sierra here, they I'm sure would be glad to answer any questions as well if someone wants to answer, or if someone has a question targeted directly to them. And so I'm going to turn it back to you, Susan. I know you wanted to have some time for Q&A at the very end, so I will just turn it back to you.
All right, well, thank you. That was awesome, Dr. Perry. Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone on here today. And we're gonna, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself or put in your question in the chat. And all of these incredible women would be more than happy to answer that question. While you're thinking of your questions, I do want to give another shout out to Ruth Hamilton has joined us. Ruth is an instructor here for us in the agribusiness program, teaching farm management through our distance education program. And if you don't know her, and Ruth, correct me if I get this wrong, but I believe you actually started Annie's Project in this state and play a very vital part in women in agriculture in Illinois. So we greatly appreciate your time. And if you'd like to say anything, you're more than welcome to.
Working on the unmute. I think I've got it. Can everyone hear? There we go. Hey, Erin, is that Sierra? Is she in my farm management class?
I think so.
Hi, Sierra. I see you in the background there. So very good, very good. She's one of my students. Yes, I do teach at SIU. This is my 10th year. After I retired from the University of Illinois, I took this position on as a temporary, thinking, 1 or 2 years, and 10 years later, here I am, still teaching the farm management. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this team. Dr. Ishman, I see you're on. I'm very, very much impressed that you take the time to meet with the Illinois Agri-Women, of which I'm a member as well. And just very excited to see the young women that are coming up through this program here. So my pleasure to be an instructor with SIU, my pleasure to serve women throughout the United States through the program of Annie's Project. And I too have been shaped by the Illinois Agri-Women. So the women that came before me, I guess I would be kind of like a second generation. In fact, the story is I was at SIU when Illinois Agri-Women formed here in the state. So I met with that founding group of ladies there at the Student Center. And this is going to be really stupid, and I know we're recording, so I don't know. But the ag women, we started referring to ourselves as WAGGIes, women in agriculture, because the guys called themselves Aggies. Well, we didn't want to be an Aggie, we wanted to be a WAGGie. So just a little bit of a long history and background of how I got started in all this. And I'm still here, still standing, and I just look forward to a bright future for all these young people that I see that's visiting with us today. And Susan, I'll turn it back over to you, and thank you for a wonderful meeting. I'm really enjoying this.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time and appreciate all you do for SIU Ag. I actually found a picture up here. I think you received an outstanding maybe junior senior award, or when you were an undergraduate. We have your photo up here, so.
Is this going to be embarrassing?
No, it's actually a very good picture. So,
okay.
We appreciate your contribution to Illinois Ag, and especially your support for SIU and our students. I hear nothing but good about your class. So,
thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, I do want to give also a shout out to Miriam's teammates who are also on this call, Taylor and Shaylee. Taylor Harkey and Shaylee Clinton. Taylor is another transfer student who joined us this year, and Shaylee Clinton. And these young ladies have a very bright future, and they inspire me daily. So we're extremely excited to have them as SIUCs. And with that, anybody have any questions? Is there anything you'd like from SIU? Deb, I think you're unmuted now. You want to try it?
I think I forgot it. I got that figured out now. There was some problem with my computer, but we got it squared around, so I apologize. No, we do appreciate you, excuse me, for having your people come together for our presentation today. So thank you very much for that. It's been very enjoyable, and we appreciate all the time you guys have put into it, and Jill as well on our end. And for those of you that are not members of Illinois Agri-Women, please check out our website and you can join us. We have a form right on there if you want to become a part of our group. We We have a lot of statewide events. So if there's anything we can help you with from that end of it, let us know.
All right. We always enjoy the Illinois Agri-Women Conference that we are able to attend. We missed it this year, so we look forward to hopefully a face-to-face event soon. So Shaylee has a question for everyone, all the presenters. To what do you owe your success? Who wants to go first?
I can kick it off if you'd like, if no one else.
Okay, go right ahead.
So one of the things I will say, I owe my success to my parents. My mom and dad have been so supportive of me this entire time going through college. My parents did not go to college, so I'm a first-generation college student. They encouraged me to go out and get an education, and part of that thing as well is, you know, coming from a family business. My dad always encouraged me to pursue my interest and not to feel obliged or tied down by our family business. So that was one thing that I'll say, and they've been supportive this whole time. I call my mom almost every other day. You know, I live out in Kansas City by myself, so my parents have been totally supportive, and I owe my success to my parents.
How about you, Miriam?
I would definitely agree. Like it's been the people. So my family has played a really big role in that. The environment that I was raised in was just full of curiosity and such an open way of looking at the world. And I never felt any pressure to be a certain way or to have to do a certain thing. I was really encouraged to go out and work hard and at the end of the day to serve people. And then also, I know I mentioned it earlier, but my teammates from that state officer team have made such an impact on my life. And I mean, the fact like me and Taylor and Shaylee live together now. And our other two teammates live together at University of Illinois, and we get together as much as we can. They've been really, really influential. We build each other up every chance that we get. And I think there's a lack of that in the world. And so they're just examples of what it looks like to build one another up and to celebrate each other's successes.
Dr. Perry.
So I absolutely agree with everything that that was just said. For me, it was all of that, but it was also, quite frankly, not to be religious on anyone, but my faith in God and the curiosity that He gave me, and the passion and quite frankly, the fearless approach. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because it's going to happen. And someone mentioned internships earlier. What a wonderful opportunity to try something. I'm the internship director for the equine program too, and I've had students come back and say, that was awful. And I'm like, that's excellent, because now you know that's not the right job for you. So God gifted me with sort of a fearless approach and this kind of thought process that you have to try new things. And my parents also, my dad used to say to me, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Probably everyone has had a family member or someone who has shared some version of that mantra with them. And I get to live that. I get to come to work every day and do a job that I absolutely love. And if you do what you love, you will be successful no matter what. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much fame or credibility or notoriety that you achieve. If you do what you love, that is success.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? I have two things if we're ready to transition, but does anyone else have a question? Greg, you've unmuted. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, thank you for
we're having trouble hearing you.
now.
You're kind of broken up. I hate that. We'll give him a minute to see if he can get connected where he can share his question with us. I did want to share two things with you while we're waiting to see. Does anyone else have any questions first? All right, with that, I want to highlight a couple things before we hand it back over to Jill and hopefully get Greg's question in here. We are working on, as you know, SIU is having to do most everything virtual like this meeting. I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I truly hope if you all do more meetings in the future that we're able to help participate and facilitate, provide whatever you need from us. We have several other amazing females that we would love to highlight in Agri-Women. I mean, the males are good too, but it's nice to get together and highlight what women in agriculture are able to contribute. We are, as Sarah mentioned, she didn't have an FFA chapter. Miriam Taylor-Hartke did, and we do focus quite a bit on the FFA pathway and are proud sponsors of Illinois FFA. But if any of you have a connection, I know there are schools in this state and even farther out that do not have FFA programs and may not get to hear about us as much as the FFA chapters do. And if you know of those and want us to connect with someone in that school district with your student or with your children or your family, please let me know. I'll put my contact info in the chat box. But our recruitment on finding these amazing young people are dependent on our connections with all of you. So we depend on everyone else to help us train the next generation of Agri-Women and even Agri-Men as well. So we're focusing on virtual visits right now. We've been contacting FFA chapters. If you have a chapter in your area, please encourage them to participate in our activities. We are doing 2 Green Hand workshops virtually on Monday and Tuesday this next week. All the schools have received the link. We've got about 100 registered between the 2 evenings right now. My email has been blowing up with registrations the whole time we've been on here, which is great. Then the next week, there came another one just now. The next week, October 5th and 6th, we will be doing our COLT, our chapter officer leadership training. And those will be virtually as well. We are getting registrations. A great thing, if we want to look at the bright side of COVID and life going virtual, we are able to reach students from this entire state. We have 2 registered from the Wisconsin border of Apple River. So I'm very excited to see the reach we're able to get with this virtual conference. The sessions we're going to have with these events are probably the best I've seen in my time here. We have the Miriam Taylor-Shaley are going to facilitate a talk, our FFA chapter. Lexi Mueller, our state president this year for Illinois FFA, is a committed SIUC, and she's going to be joining us with a couple state officers to facilitate workshops as well. So we got great things happening even in the middle of a pandemic. Our horse judging contest is going virtual. October 9th, we will be doing horse judging via Zoom with a combination of YouTube. We're kind of struggling getting schools to sign up. So if you have connections and can help us, please encourage your ag teachers, your FFA chapters to please sign up and join that. There's been a lot of work going to that contest. Has a huge educational component to try to help teach them horse judging that they may not have known and wouldn't get if they came to a face-to-face contest. So October 9th is a really big deal for us as well. I'm excited that our new chancellor, Dr. Austin Lane, is going to participate as much as he can. The state forestry contest is tomorrow, and Dr. Lane taped his video message for us yesterday, and it has now been uploaded to YouTube for the state office to use. Dr. Eric Holtzmuller, our forestry professor, taped and provided all the material for the contest this weekend. We wanted to have it on campus, but we could not do that safely. So we are dependent on you all to help us. And not that we're trying to make this a sales pitch about SIU. The main thing is we want our students to stay in Illinois. We prefer they come to SIU, but as long as they stay in Illinois, that is our main goal. So with that, Greg has a question for each of our panelists. As the terrific communicators you are, how do we make SIU more visible to others in Illinois, particularly in the urban areas? Who wants to go?
I can go ahead and start again.
Okay.
So Greg, this is a great question. Thank you for asking. Having come from a relatively urban area myself, one of the things that I learned during my time as an ambassador, where I went back to urban areas and talked about agriculture, first of all, having a willing participant to do that, having someone from SIU, whether it be a student, a staff, or a faculty member, being willing to meet those folks where they're at, having very little understanding of what agriculture is. And then also just making sure that like there's some sort of way to empathize and relate to them. So when I went into those classrooms, it was very easy for me to say, hey, I'm from here. I was not involved directly in a row crop farm growing up, but here's what I've done so far. So I think it's really important, like I said, to have a willing participant and being able to meet those folks at a level that they are comfortable with and that they can understand.
Perfect. Miriam, how about you?
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. And I would also echo what Dr. Perry was saying earlier about just emphasizing that there are so many different opportunities in agriculture. From my experiences as a state officer in FFA, I got to visit the Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences. There's a couple new programs in urban Decatur. And visiting those programs, coming from a farm, I thought that I had the big picture perspective on agriculture, but then I visited these students who were so passionate about agriculture, and they came from outside of it, but when they came into it, they really had the big picture perspective. And so I think there's so much more that we can do to emphasize that, yes, there are pros to coming directly from a production ag background, but there's also so much value to be had in those outside perspectives that have come into it. I think SIU is really well positioned with our focus on research and also with our focus on sustainability. Those are things that I've seen a lot of urban students are really interested in. A lot of the sustainability ideas when we look at the food system and how do we connect, all the pieces of the supply chain. I think urban students have a really unique and very valuable perspective in that respect. And so we can highlight all of those opportunities that SIU has to offer because it's a great place. And I know for one, I feel at home here, even though I'm 5 hours away from home. So just emphasizing those varieties of opportunities is a way that we can really bring in all those students.
Dr. Perry.
So thanks, Greg. That's a great question because obviously that connection is one that we're always looking to improve, and we're always looking to be able to make that connection with new students, with new groups of students, with groups of students that maybe historically we wouldn't have been able to have that contact with. And I think to Susan's point, the COVID situation has forced a lot of us to really embrace technology, maybe in a way that some of us weren't quite ready for, but hey, kind of it doesn't matter. You got to figure it out pretty quickly. And so we've become, if not proficient, we've at least become capable at, executing a Zoom meeting on the farm. Last year I was out here doing Zoom lectures from the farm so that I could show them the horses, because we had mares that were foaling and we had breeding and things going on. And I needed the students to be able to physically see what I was talking about, but it wasn't safe for them to be here. So I think coupling our new proficiency in technological outreach with when I was with Purina, we used to do things called like a lunch and learn, and we would go into a veterinarian's office, or we would get a group of owners together and we would give them lunch, and then we would just kind of give them some updated education, give them some training. And so maybe there are opportunities to partner with industry representatives such as yourself. Maybe there's opportunities for collaboration there to do some sort of lunch and learn opportunity where we could reach out remotely, perhaps even from the farm, and show them and provide, some kind of a virtual tour, so to speak, and be able to reach some of those campuses, because physically going and meeting those students face to face is obviously always going to be, that's always going to be the best option. But we can't take the farms, on the road, but we can take them there remotely. So maybe those virtual opportunities for those kinds of connections, maybe those are something that we should be exploring.
And with that, I will share a little secret with you that Greg Webb is actually going to be joining me for a virtual visit with Chaz in October. So I'm very excited about that. We're working with SIU Admissions. They contacted us, pitched the idea to them to have an alum join us, and we're going to try it for the probably first time on a virtual visit. So thank you, Greg, for kind of stepping out and helping us with this new world that we're living with. So Does anyone else have any other questions before I turn it back to Jill to close this out for us? If not, Jill, I want to personally say thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to Illinois Agri-Women. We greatly appreciate the opportunity letting us do this. I do want to give a shout out to another alum, Michaela, who's our Jackson County Farm Bureau manager there and a proud alum. But we do appreciate the partnership with Illinois Agri-Women. Anything we can do to help, we are here. We would love to always highlight our young women and get them more involved in Agri-Women however we can help. So with that, thank you, and I'm going to turn it back to you.
Well, I just like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to come to our meeting. Being the new Southern Illinois Regional Director for Illinois Agri-Women, I would love to grow. It looks like there's a lot of women in Southern Illinois in agriculture. And I really think that people don't realize how much agriculture is really going on in Southern Illinois, outside of the university as well. So just wanted to share what our region's doing, and it's very exciting to hear what SIU Carbondale is doing. And so thank you for the time everyone put in today in making this possible. And I hope everyone enjoyed it and came away with something today.
Susan, you're muted.
With that, I'm going to stop the recording. You're welcome to hang out here and talk with us as long as you'd like.